Thank you everyone for watching another AZ Ray video. Today we're going to talk about Babygirl the film. Also, spoiler alert, I'm not going to go too much in detail with the plot itself, but I am going to reveal certain things about the character. So I always leave timestamps on all my, so feel free to skip ahead and choose your own journey. And as soon as you're done with the film, just come back to watching it. I'm sure you'll get value from it either way. And I promise anything that I reveal here, it's not going to throw you off from the plot too much. But either way, for the best viewing experience, I definitely recommend for you to watch this after you watch the film. Babygirl is a great film. I definitely recommend it. And it's a story of a woman trying to find herself, empowerment, and become validated through who she always was, and feeling torn because of her own moral backing, feeling that she has to be a certain way, right? Although the film says that Romy, played by Nicole Kidman, was raised in a cult and a guru picked her name, Romy, which we'll break down later the significance of that name. I'm sure the director purposely used the word cult so that way nobody can get triggered by listening to that word, because cult is a major encompassing term that can just be like an enclosed community. It could be various religions, no matter what the backing. And the director herself has her Subud religion, which is quite fascinating, based in Indonesia, which uses a lot of symbolisms and a lot of different paths of personal development. It's probably more of a philosophy similar to Buddhism. So yeah, quite fascinating. And going back to the topic of the film itself, we see this journey that Romy is going on. And there's a lot of shame throughout too. It's also very common to associate sex with shame. And in the process of her finding herself, she is able to explore an untapped part of herself. Later on, as we break down the different characters, we see how these interactions all play a bigger role. Hey guys, due to YouTube restrictions, we can't really get too raunchy or too specific with the film. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the various names of the characters, because I honestly think that the names are very purposeful, as well as other symbols that were seen in the film that we're going to go in later on, since this video is going to focus on a lot of the symbols and the hidden meanings that are in the film. So what we have here is Jacob. Jacob is an important biblical figure in the Bible. He's one of the founders of Israel. His name means restrain in Hebrew. And so we already see that dichotomy goes already, like the restrain is already restraining Romy, right? And then we have Romy here, right? And then Romy, his name is Hebrew for passion and wealth. And she's also based on a Colombian goddess, Romi Kumu. She's the goddess of night, earth, air. Hopefully you can read the sloppy writing, guys. If not, it's okay. And she also represents old and youth. She is young in the day and ages in the night. And you also see those parallels in the film when she's tapping into a youthful energy that she doesn't get to exude as much as she wants to, right? Whether she's partying, having fun, living up to her sexual inhibitions. And then she also has her more older, mature side, right? And she's trying to balance that duality within herself. And then another interesting paradigm within the myth, if you guys want to look into Romi Kumu, the Colombian goddess, is that she's actually chased after a lot. She's chased after a lot, and they ultimately try to kill her. And it does make sense with her position as a CEO, because being a CEO, right, it's a very coveted position, and everyone's after her, right? My producer also has a theory that I'm going to talk about in a second, that like lots of various characters are potentially after her, right? We have her like potential co-founders, and it's a very competitive role, especially for women in the industry and in the tech space. Now let's get into their kids, right? We have Nora, which is pretty straightforward, which is light in Arabic, and she is, the loving daughter, arguably the quote unquote good side the obedient side when it comes to the Romy character, because you can see that both daughters represent both aspects of Romy and Jacob, but especially Romy, right? Because she feels like she has this inner battle within her good side and her evil side because of her religious cult-like background. It's hard for her to express her inhibitions, right? And so she feels restrained to not be her complete true self. So Nora represents her light side. And then we have Isabel, right? And her name means God is my oath, right? So she already has a very strong conviction. You could tell she's like a caring person in her own right, as she's trying to find her way with her various partners, right? We see that that she is part of the LGBTQ community. At the moment of time, it seems like she's potentially lesbian. We don't really know yet. We know, right? We know that gender is fluid. So, you know, it just depends. And then, so I wasn't satisfied with that meaning. I'm like, okay, God is oath, yeah, but let's get a little deeper. So if you actually go a little bit deeper, Isabel is actually a very exotic flower. It's a very plump flower from the UK region, mainly, and it can be planted anywhere. So there's a resilience to it. There's a toughness to it, right? And so that toughness is also related to both Romy and Jacob that are able to like survive and overtake what's happening there in the end. So this takes us to the other characters, which my producer stated are potentially out to get the main character, Romy. Do we have a way of proving that? No, but I think that's done purposely, right? Who's controlling who, right? In this game of cat and mouse, who's the one that's in the control? Who's the one that's not in control? So that's what we're trying to figure out as we break this down. So let's break down these two characters' names, right? We have Esme. Esme could be short for Esmeralda as well, which is a very rare stone. But let's just go with the Esme point, right? It means beloved in French. If you want to break down the Latin origin, I estimo, it means to appreciate, right? Which is quite ironic with Esme because Esme was not appreciated. She was not appreciated at all. And she was arguably the hardest working there and was already seeing the flaws in the company, that they didn't have a strong female initiative. And that's why we see her potentially orchestrating a plot with Samuel to try to overthrow Romy. That even wasn't the intention. Either way, right? Whether this relationship was actually a relationship or was a plot, we don't really know. But regardless, she wasn't appreciated. And this takes us into Samuel. Okay, Samuel, it means like the name of God, right? So it's a very strong name, and his name is also a kingmaker, which is quite fitting, right? Because as a kingmaker, right, you see who has potential, you observe skills in people, and it's something that the film talks about as well, that he's observing certain skills and he reads certain energies of people and starts to read them, right? So he can pick up those different qualities. And although in not the most traditional or happiest of endings, he does arguably make Romy a king. And he was also anointed Saul and David, arguably some of the two most important kings in the Bible. So he made some very important figures, right? But let's dive a little deeper into Samuel, okay? So these are Samuel's tattoos. Okay. So breaking down Samuel's, he has very purposeful tattoos. He has a key 8, which is an important chemical compound with potassium and other deposits that actually form cancer treatments. So you can already see that he has a strong association with curing it, or he has some kind of exposure to it, depending on his background. And you can see he has a strong focus to change, or maybe he's a cancer. You can interpret that in a couple different ways. He also has the number 59 on his, I believe it's his wrist. If not, it's somewhere on his arm. And so the word 59 in the police code actually means criminal mischief, which is very interesting because if you go a little deeper into his abdomen, we start seeing that he has a ski mask, Cupid, angel, cherub on his abdomen. And that's also another indicator that shows the mischief that he has, right? We have another symbol that I've been struggling to like really kind of decipher what it means exactly. If you guys could like send me a comment below and maybe you guys can break this down for me, that would be like fantastic. But it seems like he has some kind of like peace health symbol on his shoulder, and it has the snakes on it, but on one of the sides it has this weird shield looking thing. I'm not sure if it ate a bird or attacked a bird. That's the theory I'm kind of leaning towards. I try to look into the Subud religion that the director is backing, trying to see if there's some other symbols. I kind of left me at a dead end, so I'm not really sure. And I'm not sure if it's connected to the cuckoo reference that they talk about in the movie as well, but there's some kind of symbol with like medical medicine, but it's not your traditional typical snake tattoo. So we have all these different symbols that better reveal the characters for us, and they start previewing the type of people that they are, right? We see that the both lead characters, Samuel and there's moving up and advancing in their paths. And yes, they have like many trials and hills and valleys and tribulations, but we also see that a part of themselves that they can't lie to. Even if either one of them are tricking each other, there's some things that you can't fake, and there's a lot of things of vulnerability. And as Romy is trying to find confidence in herself, even when she's doing her misdeeds, she's still feeling fulfilled because it's allowing her to even be better in her family and better in her life. And you see that there's a lot of flashbacks with her and her family and the family on the bed and whatnot. And there's like a lot of love to it. Of course, it's not done in the most appropriate way, but she needs to find liberation and confidence in herself to be herself, right? And that's the journey that she ultimately leads to. And she's also credited for molding a future leader in Esme, right? Of course, we don't want Esme to be appreciated in the way that she was. Unfortunately, become a person in leadership, although due to a sketchy circumstance, she is still the most qualified and candidate for the role, especially in molding future female leaders, right? And in this process, Samuel makes Romy a king, a queen, an empress, whatever word you want to use for her, right? And that becomes their journey, and it becomes a journey for Romy's confidence. So another comment that I just wanted to talk to, since we finished up talking the Samuel symbolism, you'll notice too that throughout the film we see that Romy is carrying a Russian amulet. That amulet is known as the Nazar, and it's known to give people protection, but it's also a form of surveillance. So there's this like interesting relationship. Does she know that she's being watched? Does she want to be watched? Is she watching Samuel, right? You can interpret it in a couple of different ways. And then the other interesting thing, just to go a little bit more deeper into the Romy Kumu goddess angle, is that she is essentially a creation god, and she destroys various eras of the world through flood and fire, and she also gives rebirths it. So there's this life and death dichotomy, as we mentioned earlier. She's also day and night. She's young in the morning and she's old at night. So there's all these different like levels of things that are happening, and it's quite powerful as well. There's a lot of other things that the film ties into, and it gives you like information as far as different kinks and things like that. Like the film itself, Babygirl, is based on a very famous dominatrix, or different forms of like kinks and forms of sexual preferences and sexual activities. Babygirl is kind of like almost like a downward facing dog yoga like position. So there's a reason why the film's called that, because that position is the position of Romy's liberation as a person, as a baby girl, growing up and maturing and finding herself, or feeling empowered within her sexuality and being able to feel that she can be herself and that she doesn't have to feel shame. And I think this film is beautiful because I don't think it's just for females, it's for anybody, you know, LGBTQI, non-binary, and it's for men too, right? Because a lot of people that grow up in religious backgrounds, there's a lot of shame associated to sex, right? There's not enough guidance as far as allowing people to explore and see that when you're with another person, it's like two spirits are becoming one, and it's an exploration of love between two people, right? And yeah, God is love, and what you experience with your other person or persons, I don't know, whatever floats your boat, that's your path, that's your personal journey. And yes, she revealed such a beautiful vulnerability about a topic that definitely deserves more attention, and I can only exult and applaud her. As far as my rating is for this film, I'm gonna have to give this a 6 out of 10. I'm not saying it's a bad film. It already drops down several points because the film isn't for everybody, and I strongly agree with the fact, my wife also said it too, that the ending just wasn't as strong. I don't think everyone will get the ending. I was able to catch a lot of the symbols throughout it. I don't know how many people will. So the ending was a little bit off. As far as feedback, what to do differently, I would say some kind of maybe something a little bit more that shows that Romy is empowered, right? Because the ending can be interpreted as that either Romy's empowered or she got away with it. And I don't think that's fair to Romy's character, because I think it's meant to be an empowering film of sexual liberation. I could be wrong. You guys may disagree with me. Tell me what you guys think. Honestly, although I give this a 6 out of 10, still check it out. Just because I feel like the message might have been a little lost in the process. And then the other reason why I gave it a 6 out of 10 is also because the film didn't move me in any kind of deep way. It didn't give me a strong range of emotion, or the emotion that it was meant to give me. It didn't hit the mark like I liked it to. But I still highly recommend it, just for Nicole Kidman's performance alone. It was amazing. It was great. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for taking the time to check this out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really trying to hit those 100 subscribers, guys. Please spread the word. Tell your mama, tell your sister, tell your mister, tell your neighbor, tell whoever you want to. Please spread the word. Please tell more people about this channel. And yeah, leave a thought on the comments below you want to see on the community/post tab, and we'll make sure to get that done for you. And you guys have an amazing end of the year. Have an amazing 2025. Definitely check out the film and let me know if you disagree. Let's start this discussion here. Thank you so much for your time. You guys have an amazing day. And thanks for watching another AZ Ray video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.